So Brand New Day is lighting the box office on fire, huh? Tom Holland's tenure as the webhead has been interesting. After two just okay movies, No Way Home became absolutely legendary, to the point where, for years, I've gladly called it the third best Spidey movie ever made, right behind Raimi's first two movies, of course. Now, those are some pretty big shoes to fill, especially considering Brand New Day is trying to soft reboot the character after No Way Home wiped Peter Parker from everyone's memories. So does the movie earn its place among the best Spidey stories ever? Or is it as bad as that time Peter sold his marriage to the devil? Yes, it's a real storyline. No, Marvel has not retconned it away. You've seen the premise. After the spell that mind-wiped the planet, Peter Parker's been squarely focused on being Spider-Man, to the detriment of his civilian identity. Almost like a reversal of Spider-Man 2. It's gotten so bad that his only two friends are Detective Jean the Wolf and the Punisher. And let me tell you, I don't think Frank's the type of guy you play video games with. Things change when a new, unpredictable menace shows up to threaten New York, which coincides with Peter's mutation becoming more and more aggressive. Now, Spidey needs to figure out what this threat is all about, while also making a decision. Is he Peter Parker, or is he Spider-Man? First, the good. The cinematography is pretty cool. I'm not calling it better than Raimi's, but there are some obvious homages, and the movie comes up with some really memorable shots that emphasize Spidey's unique movement. There's also about a million recreations of classic Spider-Man covers, and as a nerd, I was eating it up. The action's great. We finally get that incredibly athletic Spider-Man from the comics, constantly using webbing in clever ways instead of just swinging from point A to point B. Moving on, Tom Holland at this point is so comfortable in the role that he could play Peter in his sleep, and I feel like this is the movie where he fully embodies the character. Before now, Peter was always the young hero, still learning the ropes, but here you finally get the feeling that this is an experienced crime fighter who can stand on his own 2 feet without needing guidance. Guys like the Punisher treat Spidey more like a work buddy than a kid they have to look after, and it feels good after so many years to finally get an actual grown-up Spider-Man. Speaking of which, his chemistry with John Bernthal's Punisher is fantastic. Just one of those neat coincidences. Spidey and Frank work well together in the comics, and their actors work just as well in live action. Oh, and if you were wondering, yes, this is a toned-down, PG-13 version of Frank. But hey, at least we got the Savage Hulk back, and all the destructive awesomeness that entails. Honestly, the entire supporting cast brings their A game. I can't think of a single weak performance. And yeah, that includes MJ and Ned, who have more screen time than I expected. Honestly, part of me wishes they just weren't in the movie at all, so this could be even more of a fresh start. But Zendaya and Jacob Batalon give strong performances, and they tie back nicely into Peter's arc about loss, acceptance, and growth. It was a nice surprise to see just how character-driven this movie is. For all the big action scenes and comic book spectacle, the story never loses sight of Peter Parker. His struggle isn't really about beating up a bad guy, it's about figuring out whether he can allow himself to have a life outside the mask. After everything No Way Home put him through, it's understandable why he would choose the spider over the man. Brand New Day understands that choice, but it also understands why that's not healthy. The movie just gets Peter, is what I'm saying. This is the guy we all grew up loving, the guy who keeps getting his teeth kicked in by the universe thanks to that infamous Parker luck, and yet he still decides to go out there and be a hero. He isn't motivated by revenge or fame or obligation. He simply sees people who need help and he helps them, even when doing so costs him everything. That's Spider-Man. Now, that's great, but this is still not a perfect movie. Most of my issues have to do with the main antagonist. I think just about everybody got spoiled on who it is, but just in case, I'm not going to mention them by name now. Performance-wise, I got no complaints. They're creepy, intimidating, and genuinely brutal whenever they're on screen, so it's not like the movie fails to make them threatening. The problem here is the writing. The way they choose to go about achieving their goals just doesn't hold up if you think about it for more than a few minutes. By the end, I was left thinking, wait, there were like a million better ways of doing this? Why are you being like this? That's especially unfortunate because the villain gets a lot more focus here than like Vulture in Homecoming or Mysterio in Far From Home, so those story decisions have a much bigger impact on the movie. And while I'm not gonna get into spoilers yet, you don't have to worry, I also found the resolution to their story unsatisfying. It's like the movie wants us to see them as a misunderstood victim when really they were way crueler than they needed to be. Overall, just about everything good I have to say about this movie comes back to Spider-Man, and just about everything bad has to do with the antagonist. That's a trade-off I'm willing to accept because at the end of the day, this movie understands Spider-Man, not just the suit, not just the powers, but Peter Parker himself. It's easily better than Tom Holland's first two Spider-Man movies, and honestly, I think it might even edge out No Way Home. As incredible as that movie is, it had the luxury of bringing back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. This one rests almost entirely on Tom Holland, and he delivers. I would say it's the third best Spider-Man movie ever, right behind Raimi's first two movies. And hey, winning the bronze medal when you're competing against my two favorite superhero movies of all time is nothing to be ashamed of. Spoilers ahead, so click away if you haven't seen the movie, but before you do, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Okay, spoilers in 3, 2, 1... So yeah, Jean Grey is here. When they first announced Sadie Sink was in this, everybody instantly called that she would be playing Marvel Girl. And I honestly hoped they were just trying to fool us or something, like she was gonna play Firestar. But nope. For some reason I'll never understand, we get introduced to Jean Grey, one of the founding members of the X-Men, in a Spider-Man movie. And even more head-scratching, she's the villain. Now, no shade on Sink, she's a talented actress and honestly a pretty good fit for Jean. My problem isn't with her performance, it's with the script she was given. And just so we're clear, yes, Jean is the villain here. She threatens and injures hundreds, if not thousands, of innocent people who did absolutely nothing to her. That's villain behavior, even if she doesn't actually kill anybody. She's not an anti-hero, she's a villain who gets an opportunity to redeem herself. And just as a fan of the comics, nah man. When Jean isn't being possessed by the Phoenix Force, you know, the crazy alien Firebird, she's actually one of the more emotionally grounded members of the X-Men. She's compassionate, empathetic, and often the person keeping everybody else together. But both this movie and the Fox X-Men films seem obsessed with turning her into this perpetually unstable, misunderstood loner. And one, I don't think that's as interesting, and two, Hollywood isn't exactly lacking in that type of character. But even if you ignore the comics completely, the story doesn't still quite work. It turns out Jean's sister, Sarah, was taken by damage control to be experimented on. Jean responds by taking over the minds of random civilians, orchestrating attacks on damage control facilities, and threatening Spider-Man whenever he gets too close to the truth. Except, once Peter finally learns what's actually going on, he tries to help her, because of course he does. So you're just sitting there thinking, ma'am, you could have just told this guy what's happening. This is Spider-Man. Helping complete strangers with impossible problems is kind of his thing. Instead of asking for help, Jean spends most of the movie creating bigger and bigger problems for herself. She gets an old man hit by a car, threatens to kill MJ, traps hundreds of New Yorkers inside that psychic bubble at the end. At several points, she stops feeling desperate and starts feeling outright cruel. Ironically, I think the movie would have worked better if Jean already knew Sarah had died right from the start, and this whole thing was just her grief boiling over into revenge. I still wouldn't agree with what she's doing, but at least I would understand how she got there. Instead, she begins the movie already willing to hurt innocent people, keeps escalating from there, and then Spider-Man lets her walk away after she basically says, well, you know, I guess I'm not gonna do that anymore. She just doesn't earn that ending. Personally, I think it would have been much stronger if Jean completely broke down from the guilt once the truth came out and then willingly turned herself in to the authorities. This would have shown genuine remorse, and it would be the first step toward becoming the superhero we all know from the comics. This version, though, I honestly have no idea how the X-Men movie is supposed to pick up from here. And that's frustrating because I really do think Sadie Sink has a great Jean Grey in her. She's talented, she's beautiful, she's got that emotional intensity. The writing just isn't doing her any favors. It's why I kinda hope they are serious about that full MCU reboot and they just completely rework Jean's backstory for the X-Men movie. At the end of the day, I walked out feeling exactly the same way I did before the spoilers. This movie absolutely understands Spider-Man. I just wish it understood Jean Grey half as well. If you're a fan of the web-slinger, you're probably gonna have a great time with Brand New Day. If you were hoping for a comics-accurate Marvel girl, better luck next time. Also, it was kind of funny that MJ never truly got her memories back, yet all it took for Ned was doing that weird handshake with Peter. I guess he just loved him more. Bros before hoes is the message of this movie, I think. But what did you think? Where does Brand New Day place in your ranking of the Spider-Man movies? Do you think Tom Holland has finally become the definitive live-action Spider-Man? Let me know in the comments. And once again, if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.